Have you ever looked at a photograph and seen only the lie? I mean, truly seen it. Not the smiles or the sunlight or the perfect composition, but the falsehood hiding in plain sight, smiling back at you. For years, that was my life. A beautiful, high-definition lie. Framed on the mantelpiece, displayed on my phone, painted across every single one of my tomorrows. My name is Elena, and this is not a story about a woman who fell apart. This is a story about a woman who learned to see. And what I saw, it didn't just break my heart. It showed me my own strength. It all started in what felt like a golden hour that lasted for years. His name was Daniel, and to me, he was the sun. He wasn't just charming, he had a gravity that pulled everyone into his orbit. When he spoke, people leaned closer. When he promised, you believed him. I believed him. I believed in us with every fiber of my being. Together, we built what looked like a castle from the outside. We founded a creative agency, Vanguard Designs. It was born from my sketches, my late-night hustle, and his dazzling charm. He was the frontman, closing deals with a handshake that felt like a sacred vow. I was the quiet engine in the studio, making the magic real. We had the beautiful home, the friends who envied our connection, the future that seemed written in the stars. I loved our balance, or what I thought was balance. The first crack was so small I almost missed it. A dinner party. Daniel was telling a story about a client meeting, a story I knew well. But this time, the details were shinier, more dramatic. In his version, he saved the deal single-handedly. I sat there, smiling, but my mind was quietly screaming. I remembered our project manager, Sarah, working for 3 sleepless nights on that pitch. But in Daniel's story, Sarah wasn't even there. I brushed it off. Just stress, I thought. The need to impress. But the seed was planted. Then the rhythm of our life changed. The late nights became client dinners I was never invited to. His phone, which once lived face up on the coffee table, now lived screen down, a silent, black slab. He'd flinch if it buzzed. Just spam, he'd say, with a laugh that felt a beat too short. But the real masterpiece of his deception? It wasn't the hiding. It was the over-the-top, glorious, smothering love that came right after. Out of the blue bouquets. Lavish, sudden weekend trips to Paris. He'd look at me with tears in his eyes and say, I don't know what I'd do without you, Ellie. He was building a firewall of affection so high, so blindingly bright, that to question it felt like the greatest sin. If the whole world saw a man worshipping his wife, who was I to look for a shadow? I wasn't suspicious. I was confused. Something in the air had changed. A dissonant note in our song. Every time I gently ask, is everything okay? You seem distant. He'd launch into an Oscar-worthy performance. He'd hold my face, his eyes glistening. Baby, I'm just fighting for us. For our future. The pressure is immense. You're my rock. And I, like a fool, would swallow my unease and apologize for not being more supportive. I was sleepwalking through my own life. The night the lie finally tore through the canvas, it wasn't with a scream. It was with a whisper, a notification. Daniel was in the shower, and his laptop, the sacred temple of all his confidential deals, was left open. A little box popped up in the corner. An email preview. From *redacted law offices. Subject *urgent. Final settlement review. Wife's name, not mine. The world didn't spin. It stopped. Everything, the sound of the water, the clock ticking, the beat of my own heart, froze solid. The air in the room turned to glass. In that terrible, pristine silence, I saw it. Not the whole truth, but its monstrous shape.
He was married.
Or had been. A whole life, a whole wife I knew nothing about. I didn't touch the laptop. I didn't scream. I walked slowly to the living room, sat on the couch we'd picked out together, and I waited. I listened to the water shut off. I heard him humming. That casual, innocent humming was the most horrifying sound I'd ever heard. When he came out, towel around his waist, a smile on his face, he found me just sitting there. You okay, Ellie? he asked, his voice dripping with a concern that now sounded like poison. I looked at him. Not at the man I loved, but at a stranger, wearing his skin. And I said the words that began the end of his world. My voice was eerily calm, a flat lake. "Daniel," I said, "we need to talk about your wife." The color drained from his face. It was instantaneous. That charming glow vanished, replaced by the grayish pallor of a man caught in a spotlight. For one glorious, horrible second, I saw raw, unfiltered panic. No script. Then the actor returned. "Elena, oh my God," he stammered, his hands flying to his head. That was a lifetime ago. It's over. It's been over for years. A messy divorce. She's trying to come after me for more money. I didn't tell you because I wanted to protect you from that ugliness. I wanted what we have to be pure." The words gushed out, a flash flood of half-truths. He fell to his knees in front of me, real tears streaming down his face, tears of fear, but tears all the same. "She was unstable, Ellie. She's lying about everything. I was going to tell you once the settlement was final. You have to believe me. You're my real life." A week before, I would have held him, comforted him. But the woman on that couch was different. She was made of ice and observation. "What's her name?" I asked, quiet as a grave. He flinched. "Maya," he whispered, like the name itself was a curse. "And when was the divorce finalized?" It's in process. Almost done." "So, you're not just hiding an ex-wife. You're hiding an ongoing divorce." I stated it as a fact. A piece of data for my new, cold collection. That night, we slept in the same bed, a canyon between us. I didn't cry. I thought. I planned. I saw. The next morning, I began my real work. I became a ghost, a silent archivist of my own betrayal. I went to the studio, but didn't design. I researched. I found Maya. Her social media was private, but her photo wasn't. She had kind, tired eyes. A mutual friend had tagged her in a post from 2 years ago. "So proud of my sis Maya. Getting her life back on track after everything." After everything. My fingers, cold and steady, went to a public records website. I typed in Daniel's full name. And there it was. The truth, naked and ugly. Not a divorce in process. A divorce finalized 18 months ago. A full year and a half before his tearful performance on our living room floor. But that wasn't the grenade. The grenade was in the case details. Reason for dissolution. Irreconcilable differences. Financial misconduct and fraud allegations by petitioner, wife. Case settled out of court. Asterisk, asterisk. Financial misconduct. Fraud. The words buzzed like wasps in my skull. This wasn't a man who had a past. This was a man with a pattern. My mind, now a detective's mind, connected dots. The mysterious client dinners. The dips in our business accounts he blamed on market delays. The expensive new watch, a gift from a grateful client. Daniel wasn't just a liar. He was a thief. And I was his latest mark. But instead of rage, a profound, chilling clarity settled over me. Begging? Crying? That would give him the drama he craved, the emotional battlefield where he was a master. He would twist my pain into his narrative, the unstable woman, just like he'd done to Maya. No. I would not play his game. I would change the game entirely. My revenge would not be a shout. It would be a silence. It would not be a fire. It would be the slow, inevitable pull of gravity. I would simply remove the foundations he stood on, one truth at a time. And I would watch. I would watch his lies collapse slowly. I started with our business, Vanguard Designs. I began running parallel ledgers. For every project, I noted what the client paid versus what was logged. The discrepancies started small, then grew. Then I found it. Project Phoenix. A client that didn't exist. Invoices totaling over $85,000 paid to a shell company. The details were in an encrypted folder on our server. A folder I wasn't supposed to access. But Daniel used sentimental passwords. I remembered the name of his childhood dog from a story. I tried it. The folder opened. Inside, a labyrinth of deceit. Spreadsheets siphoning money, forged documents, and emails with a woman named Clara, not Maya. A new name. The emails were full of financial planning, dreams of a venture. Once the dust settles with the current situation. I was the current situation. Our life was the dust. The pain was a cold stone in my chest, but I transformed it into focus. I photographed everything. I saved copies to a drive he could never find. Next, I reached out to Maya. It was a risk. I created an anonymous email. I believe we have someone in common. Daniel, I am in a similar position to where you once were. I just want to understand the truth. 3 days later, a reply. Meet me. The coffee shop on 4th and Cedar. Saturday, 10 a.m. Come alone. She was there first. She looked stronger than her photos, with a resilience in her posture. He told me you were a fling, she said, her voice weary.
He said you knew about me.
I guess we both know that's not true. Over coffee, the full story poured out. How he'd used her family, bled her dry, forged her signature, left her in debt. Her unstable reputation was his creation, a smear to discredit her when she fought back. He doesn't love people, Maya said, her eyes hollow with the memory. He loves systems. He finds a system, a marriage, a business, learns its rules, and cheats it. You and I weren't wives. We were opportunities. She gave me the name of her lawyer, Attorney Rodriguez, a pit bull in a pantsuit. I met with her, laid out my evidence. Rodriguez's eyes hardened. This is embezzlement.
Fraud.
We can dismantle him. We devised a plan. A 1-2 punch. First, an emergency motion to freeze every account he had, business and personal. Second, a factual, evidence-based email to key people. Our investors, our top clients, our inner circle. And to Clara. No hysterics. Just facts. Proof. Let the truth do the talking. The day arrived. I dressed for work as usual. I kissed Daniel's tense cheek. He was meeting investors that day, Clara no doubt. At 10:15 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from Rodriguez. Order signed. Freeze is active. It's done. I took my first real breath in months. At 10:30, Daniel's panicked call came. Elena, what the hell is going on? My cards are declined. The business account is locked. I could hear the hum of a restaurant, the clink of glasses. The public humiliation had begun. I don't know, Daniel, I said, my voice smooth as glass. You should call the bank. Did you do something? He hissed. I've just been watching, Daniel, I said softly. Like I told you I would. And I hung up. Then I opened my laptop and hit send on the email. The subject line, urgent information regarding Daniel Hartman. The silence after that click was the most powerful sound I'd ever heard. The collapse was not an explosion. It was an avalanche in slow motion.
My phone rang.
Our lead investor, his voice tight. Elena, thank you for the email. We'll be pursuing legal action. We stand with you. Clients called, expressing shock and support. Friends sent messages, horrified, apologizing for not seeing it. But the masterpiece was Clara's reaction.
She didn't call me.
She called him. Based on the fragment of a screaming voicemail he accidentally left on my phone later, it was glorious. She called him a con artist, a parasite. She said her lawyers would be in touch. The future he'd been building with her evaporated in the heat of the truth. He came home that night a shattered man. The charm was gone. The performance was over. He was just a hollow, angry shell. He found me in the living room, sitting calmly in my chair. You destroyed me, he spat, his face twisted with a rage I'd never seen. I looked at him, finally allowing my true feeling to show, not hatred, but a bottomless, weary pity. No, Daniel. You were building on a foundation of lies. I just stopped holding it up for you. Gravity did the rest. He had nothing. No money, no allies, no reputation. He packed a bag and left. He had nowhere to go, and that was no longer my concern. In the weeks that followed, the legal machinery ground on. Civil suits piled up. The business was dissolved. But from its ashes, I started my own firm. Just my name, my designs, my integrity. Our old clients, knowing the truth, came to me. I had my house, my sanity, my future back. I paid for it with my innocence. I would never trust so blindly again. And that's okay. Maya and I, we check in sometimes. There's a sisterhood there, a bond of survivors. We are both rebuilding on solid ground this time. So what's the moral? Is it that revenge is sweet?
No.
Revenge, the way I did it, wasn't sweet. It was necessary. It was surgical. It was the removal of a cancer. The real lesson is about power. The most powerful force in the world is not a loud truth, but a quiet one. Begging and crying give the liar the script they expect. They feed on that drama. They know how to play that scene. But calmness, clarity, unemotional, factual observation, that terrifies them. It's a language they don't speak. When you refuse to play the victim in their tragedy, you force them to stand alone in the wreckage of their own making. They say living well is the best revenge. I disagree. Seeing clearly is the best revenge. Because when you finally see the truth about them, about the situation, about your own strength, you're already free. The rest is just cleanup. Daniel's lies didn't collapse because I pushed them. They collapsed because they were never real to begin with. I just had the courage to stop pretending they were. I didn't beg or cry. I watched. And in the watching, I found a strength I never knew I had. And that is a truth that can never, ever be taken from me.